We recognize that there are a lot of inequities when we look at the transportation system. Certain neighborhoods don't have the right amount of sidewalks, there's a lack of transit access. You tend to recognize that they're in neighborhoods that have historically and currently been underinvested in, and there tends to be a lot of communities of color living in these locations and regions.
I think that when it comes to transportation, there tends to be a disconnect with communities of color. It's really imperative to ensure that these communities have consent given, that they're aware of what's happening, and that they're really part of the decision-making process from the beginning.
Transportation is really critical for Indigenous people because there is only one Native American healthcare service in Seattle, that's the Seattle Indian Health Board. And if you don't have access through the transportation system, it's really challenging to get there.
What we've found is that families that are low income, transportation becomes a major barrier to solving their other problems that they face. Having access to transportation, this becomes a major barrier for people to be able to actually maintain their employment. And if they cannot maintain their employment, then they often cannot maintain their housing.
Transportation in many ways is a human right to get to your home, to get to your job, to get to your children. Everyone has transportation need, and it would be critical and important to make sure that political leaders implement and support what the community said that they need and want in terms of transportation equity.
Y eso es fundamental para que todos estos problemas que yo veo en mi comunidad sean atendidos. Este nuevo marco de equidad que fue creado.
The Transportation Equity Framework is a community-guided document, especially with communities that have not traditionally had a seat at the table. We wanted to directly work with community members when we're thinking about key equity policies, programs, and projects that as a department we should address.
We came together as a group from different backgrounds, and each community has slightly different needs, and we're hoping that this strategy as a whole will address all of those different needs.
If new needs come up or needs are evolving, there's a permanent body that exists that not only hears them and considers those things, but finds really actionable ways to implement them.
Todas esas personas se unieron durante todo un año para realmente crear este marco que va a dar la oportunidad de que cada uno de los programas, proyectos, estén enfocados a la equidad.
We have engaged thousands of people in this process. The input that is in the framework and the tactics really truly represents the broad cross-section and the population of Seattle.
I think the Transportation Equity Workgroup is really one of the rare and remarkable opportunities right now, not only in this region, but nationally, to really co-create with communities that have been minoritized and historically excluded, and with government.
I really believe that transportation equity framework is critical for our voices to be heard. We've had many opportunities to meet with folks that we've never had access before.
When we think about transportation, it's not just, getting from point A to point B, but for really important things like accessing healthcare and basic needs. We're looking at transportation from this whole person perspective.
El marco de equidad del transporte es esencial para la ciudad de Seattle del día de hoy y la ciudad de Seattle de mañana.